You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
And don't tell me that I'm a weirdo because I'm upset about this. I'm just sick of dishonorable trash.
Supreme Cobra Commander!
You're failures! You think I'd sell my family out like you, dirtbag?
Jakari Jackson for Infowars.com. Campus rape is a very serious allegation and should be treated as such. But what if you, an innocent person, are caught up in the net and are being punished for a crime that you did not commit? Innocent college student subject to restraining order for resembling alleged rapist. An innocent male student was reportedly banned from entering large areas of his liberal arts school in Oregon after a female classmate accused him of slightly resembling a rapist she encountered months prior in another state. He was ordered to stay away from a fellow student, cutting him off from his housing, his campus job, and educational opportunity, all because he reminded her of a man who had raped her months before and thousands of miles away, said Professor Janie Haley of the Harvard Law Review. Which is to say, after a thorough investigation, this man has been proven innocent, but is still being punished for a crime that he did not commit. And all due sympathies to the young lady, but now this young man is having his educational opportunities ruined because he slightly resembles a perpetrator. And going from an innocent man to people who are definitely guilty, but were able to continue their crimes because of political correctness. About 1,400 Rotherham children sexually exploited over a 16-year period. The uncompromising report on events in South Yorkshire town between 1997 and 2013 said in more than a third of these cases, the youngsters were already known to child protective agencies. The report said, by far the majority of the perpetrators were described as Asian by the victim. But the investigator said, counselors seemed to think it was a one-off problem they hoped would go away, and several staff described their nervousness about identifying the ethnic origins of the perpetrators for fear of being thought racist. Political correctness allowed these rapists to run wild in the Rotherham streets. Now let me be very clear, I'm not saying all Asians are rapists or Muslims or anything like that. It was these particular men who just so happened to be Asian, but they didn't want to come down on these guys. They didn't want to go round them up because of their ethnic origin. And these are the type of political correctness things we see in our societies and allow guilty people to get away with their crimes. You can find more reports at Infowars.com.
It is total mind control. It is total basket case brainwashing to where she claims somebody raped her when she was in another state. This is what's taught on all the campuses, that the male act of sex with a female is inherently rape. That babies are parasites inside women. It's anti-human garbage to create some bizarre phobia where women's only identity is in hating men, when we all know the happiest women out there are with loving men and vice versa. And so many brainwashed feminists have been reformed and have actually found the love of a good man that serves them. They serve him. They have children. They become empowered. So many women have sent me letters, and I've met them, and they go, oh, my God, I wish I'd have known this when I was younger. My parents just raised me that the state was God and that my identity was in hating men. And they have families with the last wave feminism where the man teaches them how fundamentally bad men are. We are the species. You don't say a male lion is bad. It is the species. Humanity isn't a man or a woman or a child, a boy or a girl. I mean, I love my daughters. And I want to put them in martial arts. We're planning to do that now that they've gotten old enough, 7 and 10. And my son has been in it. And I've been teaching him how to use the two older ones' firearms. And I don't, I mean, it's just this, you are oppressing women. You are a white male. You are a, and then, oh my gosh, you can't be in many areas of the campus, is basically kicked out of half the school because you slightly resemble. And then Jakari even qualifies by saying, we're very sorry if you got raped, lady. Which I know he's being a gentleman, that's fine. But it just shows how we're like giving into these people. I would just laugh at them. This guy should sue them. Not not just be, wow, my feelings are hurt. How dare them know he wasn't the rapist, but still investigating? And then say, now stay out of this area of the school. Scientist specializing in the philosophy of law and constitutional theory. He's also a designer of high-security residences and retreats. He's designed self-sufficient and high-security homes throughout North America and has consulted in Central America as well. He's the author of Strategic Relocation, North American Guide to Safe Places, that we sell, both the film we produced and the book. Big coffee table book, glossy pages, the best analysis out there at InfoWarsStore.com. He also assists people who live near a large city to develop contingency retreat plans. Joel was raised in Oregon, later served as a fighter pilot for the U.S. Marine Corps during Vietnam era, prior to being his design firm in high-security residences. During the 80s, he took leave of absence to serve as the chairman of the Conservative National Committee in Washington, D.C., and concurrently served as executive director, editor of Conservative Digest. JoelScalzon.com, WorldAffairsBrief.com. He's the editor of WorldAffairsBrief.com, and he joins us to cover news and the waterfront, and to take a few specific, focused questions, not comments or diatribes, because we're limited on time today, from callers. That's coming up at about 45 after. 800-259-9231, 1-800-259-9231. Now, we never get into the social engineering with Joel Scalzon and the attack on the family and Obama acting as a dictator, basically opening up the borders right now. All this unprecedented stuff. We need to talk about geopolitical and the price of oil and Ukraine and Russia and Greece. And we're going to hit all that first because he's an expert on that. But I want to cover the waterfront on a bunch of topics with Joel today to pick his brain. And Joel Scalzon joins us via video Skype. If you're a radio listener, you can go to Infowars.com/show. And you can see Joel as well. Or if you're a PrisonPlanet.tv subscriber, you can also see him there. But we have a free feed for the radio listeners during the daytime broadcast. But you can also subscribe and get the commercial-free podcast. We appreciate the subscribers out there that helped fund this for everybody else. But please take advantage of it. Send that link, Infowars.com/show, to your friends, to your family, at the end of your emails. You can wake folks up by just pushing our information in their direction, and that's how we grow via leaps and bounds. But as I said, going now to Joel Scalzon, editor of World Affairs Brief. There's so much to cover, but I want to get into Russia, get into Ukraine, get into ISIS with you first, get into what's happening with the dollar, with oil, with Greece. Joel Scalzon.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. It's really great to be with you. You know, we've had a lot of hype going on about the collapse of the euro, about nuclear war being imminent with Russia over Ukraine. And I continue to say, you know, there's a longer-term globalist agenda here that is not going to allow for these things to be imminent. And that's proving the dollar to collapse, the failure of the BRICS nation to be able to, you know, bring down the dollar, or what's going on in Greece right now, where we saw, as I predicted, the European Union gave in and gave them another 4-month extension again. It wasn't 6 months that Greece wanted. The only concession that they gave was that Greece gets to pick their own austerity to by the Troika. And so that's a, you know, a small tactical diplomatic battle. They still have to come up with something today to tell how they're going to stop the continued tax evasion and reduction of civil service. But as I've said, you know, the longest agenda here is globalism, and the EU is it's the flower of globalism. It's the showplace. They're not going to let that go down. And were to exit the Eurozone, it's not, I'm not convinced, in fact, I'm fully convinced that the EU would, even though other countries may want to follow suit. I think the Euro is showing sign, or the EU is showing sign, of doing whatever it takes to keep Greek in, to keep the exit from handling, or from going on. And I think we'll continue to see that. Doesn't mean that things are solved. Greece has long-term problems. It's not going to be solved by this additional bailout, but it does kick the can down the road so that they can And there'll be other major crises that come.
Sure, but in the future, this global debt is all untenable. And you got Alan Greenspan saying something big's coming. You have all these other elites saying get ready for something big. Obviously, they engineer these things to consolidate power. Do you think it's going to be inflation? Do you think it's going to be deflation? Do you think the bubble's going to go on? And if so, for how long? Because most experts, John Williams, you name it, now say, Dr. Paul Craig Roberts has been saying 3-4 years forever. Now he's saying it could be this year or next year that we see a global meltdown.
Yeah, I know they have been saying this, and they've been wrong for 3 and 4 years running. And it's because they haven't really looked at what does it take to destroy. Answered these things several times in the World Affairs Brief. I've never got a suitable response from Williams or Peter Schiff or Gerald Celente on my major objections. Number one is that for hyperinflation, which is the major way to take the dollar, you've got to really have two things. You've got to have a very modest money supply that can be doubled or tripled in a year to depreciate and make the dollar become worthless. But that isn't possible with the dollar. There's over 200 trillion monetized dollars, maybe even 300 trillion. And there's over 1,000 trillion non-monetized contractual dollars.